What's good everyone, it's zi8gzag here, welcome back to another Geoguessr video. Today I'm going to be looking at some of the coolest and most interesting statistics that come from my last year of Geoguessr playing. So all this data comes from a pretty cool little script here called Geoguessr Tweaks, which is available on the Chrome store. I'll have the link to this in the description. And basically through it you can export all your game data from the last year. And right now we're going to go through all that data and see what's interesting, what's good, and yeah, just try and explain what I think of the last year. Because as we can see from the games played per month here, the last year has been highly volatile in how much Geoguessr I played. Obviously through here, I was just playing a lot less. That was before I went to Europe. And then in September here, you can see when I was in Europe, I had the idea. I really want to get good at Geoguessr. I want to get much better. And that's what I did in October, November, December, and to a lesser extent, January. And that's before I started full-time work. Obviously, by the time halfway through February, I started full-time work. And then March and April have seen further declines. But you can see I played a whole bunch here. That's when I did a real lot of improving, especially at certain countries. And yeah, it's kind of reflected in my monthly average as well. As you can see, higher monthly average over here where I wasn't practicing any specific countries. Then as I came back from Europe, I started practicing a lot of Russia, a lot of Brazil. And so that is what led to this dip over here. So I got a whole bunch of data here compiled by my friends Arrow, Fin, and Miracle Whips. Do stick around because I haven't actually seen a lot of these myself, and I think they're going to be really cool. There's a whole bunch of them. Give the video a like and let's get straight into some more here. So yeah, we saw average monthly score, games played. Let's see what the next one here is. Number of perfect games. So I had 3 perfect games in June. Interesting. It's not too many here at all, is it? Even like accounting for like challenges and stuff like that, I would have expected it was more. For example, I actually feel like this is wrong because there was even one day where me and Mate Potato did 25,000 runs in a row together. So it should be at least 4 on one of these days. But yeah, I don't really know what the reason that it is less there. Maybe some of the statistics are somewhat missing, but to me it looked like a full list when I saw it. So yeah, I don't really sure what the reason is there. Maybe there's a good explanation. But here's a really interesting one for us guys. Most played maps here. So as for most played maps, it is actually AI generated world over a diverse world. So as you guys may or may not know, I have the second place world record on AI generated world, which is 40 countries in a row for the no moving, panning, or zooming streak. And as you can see, that took a lot of work to get. Not to mention the fact that AI generated world is probably my favorite Geoguessr map. So if I'm ever just playing or like grinding for something, like AI generated world is often my map of choice. As you can see, next is diverse world. Then there's a steep drop off after 1,000 games played. This is in the last year, of course. Then we go down to about 500-ish, and that is going to be rural world, community world, skewed world, and a balanced Australia. So those 4 are kind of like my second tier maps. It's really interesting how there's like the top 2, the next 4, and then the next ones after that. And so then we have Russia, Malaysia, Brazil. Not even sure what these ones are. Unfortunately, we don't really have the name available to us there. Yeah, I'm not, it could be like a bit of Peru in there as well. Then we have Canada, and we have South Africa, and we have Turkey. And then we have region guessing, which is a country, one that includes all the biggest countries. USA, Indonesia, Kenya Gen 4, because I was practicing the new Kenya. Nigerian Revolution, which is Nigeria Generation 4. And then another anonymous intersection guesser map there. So that's pretty interesting, I think. Especially, I did not expect AI Generated World to actually be above Diverse World, but it goes to show. And if you haven't played that map on no moving, panning, or zooming, it is really fun. I do recommend it. Okay, so next one here. Highest average score on maps. This is really interesting. So we have an arbitrary world, a miraculous world, a diverse world, and community world. So all world maps coming in the top there. That's really no surprise. And I guess a lot of these I would be playing sometimes on moving as well, and a lot of the time on no moving instead of NMPZ. I'm surprised AI generated world is so high because I always play that on NMPZ. I guess then we also have balanced Australia and Western US states, and then Phillip Island. So some of these are kind of more random. Like we got Kyrgyzstan here as well. I don't really think this is the most interesting thing, but it is interesting how low world is. Like world is literally all the way down here. It is like, I don't know if it's a harder map, it's just got a lot of USA and Russia and stuff on it, so kind of interesting. And it is different. The world map here is actually different to the map that we play on Jules. Even though they're both called world map, they're actually quite different from one another. Lowest average score maps, Thailand. Wow, Thailand, I was averaging about 5,000 points per game. That's kind of funny. Philippines, so yeah, they're 2 very different countries. A quite difficult world, that's interesting. A balanced Turkey, I'm assuming. Yeah, Turkey I always would go low on. and updated, I wonder what that is, Nigeria or something? It's kind of hard to tell. Unfortunately, a few of these are not ideal in the way that they're set up. That's okay, boys, though. Peru is here as quite low as well. Even Kenya Gen 4, which is it's a map I played quite a lot of and got quite good at, but nevertheless, you know, you don't have that many, like, Kenya's quite small, so if you get even 50 kilometers away, then your score takes a significant hit. Then like an Amazon rainforest map I was playing, so yeah, interesting, a whole bunch there. And so here we have the number of maps played per month, and this is kind of fascinating. Look how much I played AI generated world around this time, and I was also playing a lot of community world and a lot of rural world as well. And then diverse world kind of, I have phases where I'm playing a lot more of that, especially earlier on here. In the last 6 months, I've not played too much Diverse World at all, which is kind of interesting, I think. But yeah, AI Generated World was definitely the standout map there. And then everything else kind of like ebbs and flows. And Skewed World kind of has like, yeah, after I got the AI Generated World, you can see the next month I was trying Skewed World quite a bit more. So that's also kind of interesting. Next one here is most maps played. Okay, so this is the average scores on the maps I played the most of. So as you can see, what have we got here? Like Community World has really been a bit higher recently. I've been apparently doing well on that, and I think that's also because I've been grinding ones where I reset before the map finishes, so that's kind of interesting. AI Generated World, like, is kind of like consistently decent here. I only really played that like a lot in these months. Like I haven't even played much recently at all. It's very interesting. Skewed World, I was having a real consistent patch over here, and then when I was playing a lot more, actually the scores were a lot lower. I think that's because I was guessing more quickly. But that's definitely an interesting one. Diverse World is just consistent, you know, just consistently averaging about 20k, which is good. I'm happy with that. Okay, average score per map. Then we have like a more oh gosh, some of the names of these are we have a more kind of diverse range here, as you can see, average of 25k. So yeah, this is actually including basically all the maps I've played, and so some of these I only played once or twice, like terrible scores, and others I've gotten basically only perfect scores on. So kind of one that would be good to pause the video. I don't think it's actually too worth pausing now, but yeah, you can go check it out if you want. Okay, this one's interesting. Average score versus average games played in one day. Okay, so let's try and figure this out. So here, the further right you go, the more games I played on that day, and frequency of number of games played. I think that's like how many days I had at that number. So I had one day where I played 200 and something games, and on that day I averaged about 17.5 thousand, just under. So like days where I played like 5 games. There were many days where I played like 3 to 5 games. There were much fewer days where I played about 100 games. But as you can see, like generally speaking here, there is like a slight negative correlation for how many games played I had versus the average score. I think that was actually kind of highly dependent on what map I was playing in the day. If I was playing like Brazil or Russia map, then I'm just going to end up with a lower average score, especially as we saw in Thailand or something like that. Yeah, interesting one. I mean, it's kind of like there's only a slight correlation here, which is probably understandable because most times I will be getting similar kinds of scores on most maps, apart from country maps. Okay, next one here, average score per day. Interesting, so it just kind of goes up and down. As you can see, it's really around this like time at the start or the end of last year where the average goes quite a bit down. We even had some days where I averaged 25,000 on world maps. That's really interesting. So that must have been days where I was making 25k videos and stuff like that. Very interesting indeed. I wouldn't have thought there was actually any days where I did average 25k, but there you have it. And you can see like the variation was really massive around the time I was practicing a lot. But also, I guess, back here. So I'm not really sure what that was about. No idea, honestly. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. And there's a really nice flat part over here. I think this is more to do with when I was in Europe. If I had to guess, yeah, it is when I was in Europe. So yeah, much more variance when I was back in Australia playing a lot. Okay, next one here, Zigzag Exposed. Average score on XP fast grind. Okay, boys. think I only ever played this map once or twice. It's something you can do if you want a fancy board. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but there you go. So there you have it. Okay, are there any more here? Okay, then we just have some data around here. It's kind of interesting. You can go and see what I was actually playing at different points here. This is obviously pretty extensive, and you can see a lot of the time I'd have like a big phase of certain maps. I reckon, yeah, if we get down here, you can see how much AI-generated world I was playing. Absolute hordes of AI-generated world there. It's pretty crazy. And you can go and check out every single match I played. So it's a pretty cool thing to go do. Here are the average scores per map in more of a detailed form. I feel like this is actually kind of a cooler way to see it. It's so interesting that out of all the maps, Diverse World is third, with over 1,000 plays, and then AI Generated World close by. So it really goes to show that world maps are kind of easier because, you know, actually all of these are world maps, I just realized, and it's because, you know, they have the whole expanse, so if you get Argentina correct on a world map, you're going to get more points than if it's just the South American map, of course. Nevertheless, because I know Australia pretty well, even after 500 games on Australia, my average score was actually 18,700, which is pretty good. And then it's actually a lot of those bigger countries like US and Canada, which do end up fairly high here. And then moving down here, you can see that a lot of these kind of more country-specific maps, we can see a lot of these intersection guesser ones, like it was Philippines, it was Thailand, we had Brazil, South Africa, yeah, a lot of those ones ending up quite a bit lower. And here's the same thing, but reversed, and yeah, you can see it's just, as I said, a lot of those country-specific maps. Maps played, again, pretty fascinating stuff. Here's the actual breakdown with the average score as well. Russia actually played 200 games on, so it is quite a significant number. That's like 1,000 rounds of Geoguessr on Russia that I played in the last year, and, you know, I'm still quite a noob on there, so it really goes to show how much of a commitment Russia is to learn. Yeah, as I said, we have one game played on the XP fast grind map, so, you know, I think you guys can forgive me for that one. Okay, well, that is about it for the video. I hope you guys really enjoyed this one. I would say about this video that it could be a fun thing to do annually, so if you want to see me do this again in a year, just let me know, and we can mark the date, and you guys can remind me in the next year to export all my data. I think this is a pretty fun one. Obviously, now that I'm working full-time, it seems highly doubtful that I'm going to be able to do too many more than like 250 games a month. But I think that in itself could be an interesting thing for the data. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching the video. Give it a like if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in a video very soon. Thanks to the guys who made the maps, and goodbye.